Three, two, one. Good evening and welcome to Thursdays with NAMI. My name is Peg Morrison. I'll be your host tonight. I am the Assistant Director of NAMI North Carolina. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness of North Carolina. I'm so glad y'all are here. Thursdays with NAMI is our way of building conversations and creating community around the topic of mental health. Our guest tonight is Hannah Carroll, president of NAMI Cumberland, Harnett, and Lee counties. That covers Fayetteville and surrounding area. I've known Hannah for 3 years now, and she is a classic NAMI leader. She dedicates virtually all of her time and talent to her local NAMI group and to the NAMI cause, which is all about making life better for anyone whose life has been impacted by mental illness. I've noticed that whatever Hannah does, she does it well. In the early days of the pandemic, she organized a talent show, which demonstrated to all of us that you can still have a kick butt event, even with COVID-19 in your life. She had an auditorium. It was a hybrid event, so there were some folks on Zoom, some in the auditorium. There were plenty of empty seats because we were social distancing, but we had live performers as well as people who danced, sang, read a poem from their home and shared it as part of the Zoom event. So you could watch it on your phone or you could watch the stage if you were there in person. It was really pretty cool. It was very inspiring. There's lots more to learn about Hannah Carroll, and we'll be chatting with her in just a few minutes here. As usual, the first part of our show will be an interview with our guest. Partway through, we'll show a video of the week, and then we'll be taking questions from you, members of our virtual studio audience. I want to pause for just a moment now to thank our funders. Thursdays with NAMI is funded in part by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Services through the Federal Community Mental Health Block Grant Fund. Thanks so much to all of them for their guidance and support. And moving right along, let's get back to Hannah. She is an affiliate leader, as I mentioned. She's also a state trainer for NAMI Connection Recovery Support Group. She's a mental health first aid instructor and a certified peer support specialist. Under her leadership, her local NAMI won 2 state awards in 2 consecutive years. That was Most Improved in 2011 and Affiliate of the Year in 2012. So clearly she made an impact there. Her group is thriving yet today. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you, Peg.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. And we'll jump right in. We always like to know about the background of our guests. So tell us your story in a nutshell.
Well, my story in a nutshell, I'm the 3rd oldest of my mama's 16 children. So I have a real large background with a whole lot of siblings in that background. And now a lot of others have been added to it. I think my immediate family is well over 60 that with my siblings and their offsprings. But that's basically my, as a child. And I've lived in Fayetteville all of my life. I attended the Cumberland County schools. And then I also graduated from Fayetteville State. And my first personal challenge with mental health personally, it began like in 1984, but I didn't get to the mental health door then. I had a crusty sore here, butterflies here, all kind of splotches on my skin, and I was very ill. And I went to the doctor in and out, and my doctor really was not finding what was really wrong with me because he couldn't find it on page 527 of the 526, he said, of the medical journal. So on May 17, 1994, I was IVC, involuntary committed to the local mental hospital. And that was the beginning of the light in the tunnel for me. because as my dermatologist assistant had said, because my doctor got to the point where he said, well, I just think it's in your head, but a big crusty sore. She told me the sore can't be in your head, because if it was in your head, I couldn't see it. So therefore, that day when I ended up in the mental hospital and I was experiencing psychosis, I really didn't know what to do that day. Only one thing I knew, I felt this pressure in my head and I knew I was not me. I knew that. And I didn't know what to do, but I knew that if I could just get to my daddy, and that's what I call my daddy, I knew if I just could get to my daddy, he would tell me what to do. And I had a 5 shift and I was talking to myself. Well, I do that when I'm not experiencing psychosis. I was talking to myself and I was like, you can't clutch this car way over there. What if you hurt somebody or something like that? And then I said back to myself, which they say you're not supposed to answer yourself back, but I do when I'm not experiencing psychosis. So I said back to myself, if you keep your mind stayed on the true and living God, you won't hurt nobody or yourself. And I made it to my daddy's. And when I walked in, I told him, something's going on with me and I don't even know what to do. The only one thing I know to do is come to you, and whatever you tell me to do, I know to do it. And he said, that's right. So he began to try to get me a ride to the hospital because he was running a garage and he was very super busy that day. And my sister was there and she had on a shirt with the shape of Florida on it, and it had a turtle frog on it in a pool. And I knew, and my sister was afraid of me. And I was the only person that took the time to help her get a driver's license, because she didn't get a driver's license until she about 25 or more. No, everybody was scared to ride with her. So I'm the person that did it. And she's shaking her head to my daddy, no, I can't put her in the car, no, hospital with her, but I can't ride in the vehicle with her. So I said, I really didn't know too much, but I knew that that toady frog was not splashing water. I knew that. And I said, she's scared of me. I'm gonna have a little fun with her. So I said, Audrey, move out the way. That toady frog is splashing water everywhere. And oh God, she got even the more scared. To make a long story short, my dad did got me a ride to the hospital. And when he did, I got there, they gave me every drug test in the book, because after I got out of the hospital, I went back and got my records. And I saw they gave me every drug test in the book because they didn't know what was going on with me. And at that time, we had a local mental health hospital here. And then they told my family I needed to go to the mental health hospital. And they was like, no, she don't. So then they IVC'd me over there anyway, and there I was. And so that night I was in intensive care, and all of those people in my family almost was in there rubbing on me and crying. Can you imagine that? You're in the mental health hospital, and I don't know why they let them all in there, because there's a bunch of them. And they were in there rubbing me like this. And I said to my younger brother, please quit rubbing me before you run me crazy. Well, he looked, so I'm already there. But the next morning, I woke up and I realized I was inside of there, because I used to drive by and look at curtains, because I admire curtains. And I could see them full color. I'm like, oh God, I'm in here. But I was different. And then I was trying to figure out, why in the world am I in here? And I went to group that morning, and the therapist said, I really think that God sent you here to help us. And I was like, well, if he wanted me to help y'all, why he didn't give me a job instead of sending me in here as a patient? That's a little strange, ain't it? But this is strange to say, and this is the truth. I really enjoyed my stay there. And I feel like my stay there was preparation for me today, not just for my own family, because afterwards, my daughter got diagnosed with the mental health challenge about 6 or 7 years later. And then I have other family members. And then on top of that, I ended up at NAMI. And then I think my road that day helped prepare me for my responsibility this day.
Wow. I've known you for a little while, and it's just so interesting to hear exactly what you've been through. I'm so glad that you had someone in your life who you fully trusted, and you could go to your daddy and know that what he told you would be the right thing to do. I've also heard from probably dozens of Black folks that, yeah, I went to the mental health facility and the first thing they did was make sure I wasn't on drugs or do that kind of test. There's clearly some racism going on in that inequity. What, one group gets tested all the time first for drugs and the other group does not. And then they probably charged you for it, which I'm mad on your behalf about that. But you've had your share of tough times, clearly, but you've done some great things. What are you most proud of that you've accomplished?
Now, to me, this is what I'm most proud of. As I've been on this journey, I picked up a lot of skills and a lot of empathy, how to deal with people that are facing mental health challenges or substance abuse. And now I am part of my mother's care team, and she has dementia. And to me, that is one thing that I feel really, really good about. I am able Monday through Friday to be part of her care team. I gained these great nuggets, these jewels that I will cherish forever because I'm able to be a part. And I think this journey that began all those years ago has helped prepare me to be a part of that team and to have the empathy that I need and to be able to laugh all day long almost and realize it's not a challenge. It's really a good opportunity and a blessing for me, not for my mom, but for me.
That is a beautiful thing. I see Gail's comment. It's profound that you're able to translate your experiences into empathy and skills to help others. I agree with that. So is it the fact that you're just able to communicate with her in a more empathetic and sensitive way, and you're more stable that you can be there for her? Or what is that about exactly?
I think it's part of that. And I think it's because, when people suffer with dementia, even though the people from the Alda Thomas Foundation will tell you it's not mental illness, but really, in my opinion, it is to some degree because they've lost. And my mom, she's so used to doing until she has this desire to do everything for herself. And even the things that I know she can't do, she thinks she can. And sometimes she might get a little irritated or something. But because of the road I've followed, I know how it is to not to be able to even do the things that you normally do. Because that day when I had to get to my daddy, I just could not do some of the things I normally could do. So I know how frustrating it can be. So I think it does give me empathy. And then it gives me so much joy because she says things that I just have to fall out and laugh about. And then I realize this is helping me get to another place. And who knows, when I have dementia, maybe this will help me And also, maybe someone will be in place if I get it to help me to live a better day.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes so much sense that, as we immerse ourselves in service to other folks, we've been through the ringer and now we know how to communicate differently in a way when people are down, that we can lift them up and not inadvertently talk down to them or talk in the wrong
Yeah.
way, that they don't feel heard or they feel judged. So yeah, I definitely get that. And you spoke a little bit about your dark days, but anything else about your dark times and what those looked like?
My dark days really were when I was going in and out of the doctor's office with these butterflies and this sore and these splotches and pain and all of that stuff, and nothing could be found at the moment. And I'm the kind of person, I don't really live on denial attitude. I try to live on knowledge avenue. And if I can live on knowledge avenue, if I can know what's going on, if I can get that knowledge, I think in my mind, okay, if I can get the knowledge, I can find resources, I can get through this. But if I'm in a place of darkness, can't find out what's going on, people are beginning to doubt and think it's a figment of my imagination. And if I didn't know better, I might would begin to think that way too. I think those was the real dark days. And I think that my ending up at the hospital where I did, and when I was discharged from the mental hospital, the psychiatrist that was in charge of me told me, you did have a psychotic episode, but there's something more going on with you. And I want you to go to Duke of Chapel Hill. And that way they would do all this and find out. So I went back to my primary care and I told him what she said. And that's when he told me that stuff about page 526 of the medical journal. And he wanted to buy into it's all psychological. But I said to him, I think I was in one of the better psychological institutions. And I do feel like right now I got a good insurance. And if it was truly psychological, they would have milked the insurance company instead of letting me out and telling me to come to you and go to Duke of Chapel Hill. But to make a long story short, he did do some MRIs after he sent me to one of his friends with a letter that he thought I wasn't going to open. I wasn't going to be Uriah. I was like, I'm not going to be Uriah. And I opened it and I got some attitude up. But anyway, when he did do an MRI on me, he found that I had a brain tumor. And I saw him inside of the bank, and he was like, you really need to get to my office and you need to get that fast call. I'm thinking I've been battling this for years, and now you said I really need to get there. And so I really didn't worry about getting there, but I did get there. And I did, at first I did end up at Duke. And that's when I got a brain biopsy. They found out that I had mixed connective tissue disease. I had gliotic brain, which a gliotic brain is when you have scarring and you have little tumors or something, cells in there, and they can cause you depression. They can cause you hallucination and all of that. So when I found out that I had those things, which I still had psychosis, and then as it journeyed, at times I would maybe have some anxiety, but it was good. It was good to know, okay, yes, I have this. It's not a figment of my imagination. I can find somewhere to go find some resources and use whatever vehicle that's going to get me to the most productive life I can have.
Wow, that is a lot that you had to deal with, but I understand how validating it would be to get that report. Like, yes, there's something happening in your brain physically that's causing these symptoms. And that's what the issue with your skin on your face was. Was it stemming from that as well?
Yeah, what it was stemming from is I have what they call mixed connective tissue disease, which
Okay.
connective tissue diseases, scleroderma is one, sarcoidosis is one, lupus is one, and there are a lot of others. What happens when they diagnose you with mixed is that you have strands of, say, lupus, polymyositis, and maybe sarcoidosis, but they can't just say it's lupus because you got the other boys there with you. So they just say it's mixed. And that's why I was having these butterflies, because that was part of the strand of lupus, and that crusty sore that was accomplished to that, and some of all these splotches and stuff that I had on. And the gliatic brain, that was the part that was helping with the other part. And then psychosis, which a lot of people would say, well, I have psychosis, but I don't have a mental illness. How much more mental illness can you get than to be experiencing active psychosis? Whatever the reason is, it's there. You have to acknowledge, at least for me, I have to acknowledge what is there with me. And then I have to look for vehicles where I can get to the best possible place that I can get. And then I feel like I'm successful. I feel like I have a productive life. But if I'm stuck over on Denial Avenue, saying, oh no, that's not it, then I don't think that my life can be as fulfilling when I'm not being honest with myself.
Okay, I love Denial Avenue and Knowledge Avenue. That's just great lingo right there. And some of you may know or may not know, psychosis is what happens with the mental state when we've lost some degree of contact with reality. So it is about as serious as you can get. You've lost some contact with reality and you really need someone to steer you in a positive direction so you can get grounded again. When you say the butterflies, Hannah, was your skin discoloring around your eyes?
No, it's like, right, it starts like round like this and it shapes like a butterfly, and you have these little splotchy looking things in the shape of a butterfly coming like that, and that's what they call butterflies. And then I had a big cruddy sore on my mouth, which sometimes, like this past, I think it was April of this year, this part was coming back. I'm on treatment for that and been on it for quite some while now. So I'm at a place now where I've learned how to kind of keep it at a better place. Because in the beginning, I would be on bed rest 3-4 months straight in the fall or whatever. But now in this past April, I think that was the first time in 3 or 4 years that I had to go on bed rest. And I only was there for about a week or something like that. But I've learned, because I know that I have several different things going on, even though sometimes I still act like a mad woman and run here, run there, and do everything. But I can kind of feel in my body, when mad woman, you got to slow your Mustang down and sit down. I can feel that. So that's a good thing, because in the beginning, I really didn't know, but as time passed, you learn how to manage whatever you've been equipped.
Okay, Mustang Hannah, do do do. All right. Let's talk about stigma. What does stigma look like in your community?
stigma in my community looks a teeny better since the pandemic. That's the one good thing I can do like this for the pandemic. Pandemic opened more eyes than before, because before I think my community felt like it's the themses and not the usses. But then during the pandemic, they realized, some of them, that mental illness does not discriminate. There are no thems and usses. It's just all of you. It might knock your door in, or it might knock anybody's door in. And I think once they realized that they could experience it, or the so-called normal population could experience it, I think it gave them a little bit more empathy. I think it opened their eyes, and now you can hear more about mental health, and you can see a little bit more acceptance. But to me, stigma is just discrimination. That's what it is. And another pantsuit is discrimination. And I think that nobody should be discriminated against for things that they cannot change, things that they are not responsible for. And I think that you should value all life, and everybody should be given the potential to work to their fullest potential, whatever that potential is. They need that vehicle that's going to get them there. In order to use that vehicle, they're going to have a supporting community around them. And I think with mental health, we lack that. I think even the substance abuse population gets accepted faster than the ones that just identify as mental health. Because I've had some people that I care about would rather identify as a person addicted to substance, which they may be, but that's not the reason they are. They are because they're self-medicating. They would rather be thought of as a drug addict than to be thought of as a crazy person with mental illness. So I think stigma steers society in a direction where it imprisons people. Some people would want to get help if there wasn't so much stigma associated with it.
I could not agree with you more. I think we nudge people into substance use too, because if I'm a young person and I'm feeling off, like my mind is off and I know it, it's perfectly easy and socially acceptable to grab a drink or get high. It's just very normal. Whereas if I want to talk about my difficult feelings, I'm having thoughts of harming myself, that's scary to people. So yeah, we embrace the substances and the substance use culture much easier than mental health, but they go hand in hand, and we need to treat both if we're really going to come into our own. I also love your comments about community inclusion, and you were one of the early affiliates, NAMI groups, to embrace our community inclusion program. As I mentioned, the talent show, which was so exciting. And now more and more of our NAMI groups across the state are doing that. But I just love your comments, because it really captures how our community isn't whole until every member has a place there. And we're cheating ourselves. We're cheating ourselves of compassion. We're cheating ourselves of the talents of a whole lot of people until we get to that point. So thank you for your words and sharing that vision. You've put so much time into NAMI in your area around Fayetteville and all of Cumberland, Harnett, and Lee counties. What brought you to NAMI in the first place?
What brought me to NAMI in the very beginning was, and I have her permission to share, my then 16-year-old daughter was diagnosed with bipolar, PTSD, and schizoaffective disorder. And by that time, the mental health hospital I went to, which was a private mental health hospital, was no longer in existence here. And I had to take my daughter to Duke to be treated. And when she was discharged from Duke, part of her discharge paper said on the discharge paper for me to go to NAMI. So I wanted what was best for my daughter. So since they put on there for me to go to my local NAMI, I went there. And I've been there ever since. Even when my daughter moved to other counties and when she gets to the place she doesn't want to come around, I'm still there because I feel like that NAMI gave me so much that I would not have gotten anywhere else. And it helped to equip me to be able to deal better because I had great plans for my daughter. This was my last child. I had hit and miss with my son, but now I know more. I have my last child and I can groom her and get her there. And she, at 16 years old, was on her way to Hyde Park, New York, to the Culinary Institute of America. And that was a great accomplishment. And I was feeling really good. And then that freight train just came and knocked everything out of sorts. And then there was my daughter. And you know, I talk to God and I don't just, yes, not me, you know, and I go backwards and forth. And I remember having a conversation with God and I was like, why my pride and joy? Why? And I did not hear God speak, but I felt impressed of God. Why not you? And then I said, not me, I can't do this. And I felt impressed that God said to me, those who I call, I equip. And you're equipped to handle this. And I was like, not me, no, I'm not equipped. But as the years went by, I realized he did equip you. He equipped you when the people at Duke put on that thing for me to go to NAMI, and my desire was to do whatever I could for my daughter. If going to NAMI is going to help her, I'm going. So therefore, I feel like that was part of the equipment. And then when I got to NAMI, I found so much knowledge, so much compassion from people who did not look down on you, but people who've been there, done that, and understood. It was like a whole new family. And then when there was an incident, and I might be getting ahead of myself, with my daughter, that she could have copped 10 years in the slammer, and the whole NAMI family. That was during the days of Debbie Dehoff and Beth Perdue. Debbie was right there. And then the whole UNC family, BB and all of them, they were right there. And Debbie even got Beth Perdue involved. And my daughter did not cop any time dispunged from her record and went forth. And I look at all of that. I never in myself could have handled that the way it ended up. And I think even when my daughter is sick and tired of NAMI, she went back to school and had to do community service. And I said, we're looking for people from the university for community service. I got a mental illness myself. I ain't volunteering no mental illness. I'm going somewhere else and do mine. And she did go somewhere else and do hers. But even when she would not, no, I'm not going over there. I felt I need to stay at NAMI, do what I can for NAMI, because look at all they've done for me. And there's so many things I can look back and see how NAMI opened doors, how NAMI gave understanding and helped me that I don't think I would have got to the place in the park with my daughter, my other family members that I don't have permission to share about. I don't think I would have been equipped to deal with it. So I feel like the Bible says, to him whom much is given, much is required. And I firmly believe that much was given to me, and especially much from NAMI was given to me. And that's why I think I felt so driven. I've slowed a little now because of my mother, but I still try to allocate the time that I do have where I don't just eliminate NAMI, because like Richard will tell you, I had a retirement party in 2018 and I was so happy, but it hasn't become a reality, not yet.
Just wasn't meant to be. We're not letting you go. And of course, you are referring to Rich Callahan, who's the president of NAMI in Johnston County. I also want to go back. It sounds like it took a village to get a mental health diversion outcome for your daughter when she needed that. And I'm so glad NAMI was there. I hope that it's a little bit easier these days for someone whose mental illness put them in the way of the justice system. I hope it's easier for them to get into treatment and care instead of getting incarceration, which is not the answer on any level. So I'm so glad that worked out for you all, and I'm glad you've been so involved. I want to give a quick nod to Sylvia, who acknowledged, yes, Hannah, you've given so much time to your local NAMI, and thank you. And note from Gail, very lovely. I love your life as living your faith. That does come through very much in your comment, and that leads to the next question. What, in your experience, is the connection between faith and mental health?
I think, faith to me is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And when you think about mental health, you got to have some faith, because there's going to be a lot of things that you can't even imagine will happen. You haven't even seen them, but they will show up. And as you refer to dark days, they will come, and it will take that faith to get you to a bridge where you can cross over those dark days into a better day and begin to see just a little bit of light down the road and get closer and closer, where you can see there is light, there is hope. And I think that faith is the connector. I think without faith, the life with mental health challenges become more and more complicated.
I love that answer. And I see some comments in the chat box that was just a very inspiring answer. So thank you for that. At NAMI, we talk about how the whole family is affected by a mental health condition. The one person starts acting differently, but everyone else is wondering, what did I do wrong? It's not just the one person who suffers, although they will suffer greatly in many cases, but the whole family is kind of going sideways. So that can pull a family together. It can also drive a wedge sometimes between family members. What has been your experience there?
I think with the mental health part of it, it has sort of driven my family together, because like I said, my mother had 16 children. And when you have 16 children, you teach them one thing. You may not have the best shoes, and you may not have all of the things that your friend have, but one thing you have that they don't have is all these sisters and brothers and all this love you have there. And even though you sisters and brothers might fight like cats and dogs, there's a certain bond there when you have so many people like that. I can beat my sister's tail, but you best not touch her, like that. So I think when the mental health problems arrive, everybody there is trying to do what they want to, even the ones that want to be in denial and say, there's really no, she's really not mental. It might be that stroke she had, or it might be this. They still want to draw there and give. The thing I think in my dealing with mental health and my family that has given us any a wedge is really NAMI. And I think the reason that NAMI gave a wedge with my family is because maybe I don't know how to get the balancing act together. And I just throw so much into it. And at first they're throwing into it, and then they're like, I'm sick of this NAMI mess. And they become a little resentful. And it's because you're in their mind, they're thinking, she needs to be spending this time doing this and that for me, but she too busy doing stuff for NAMI. She don't have time for me. And I think that's where my biggest wedge have been, not so much as my battles with mental health, because like I say, my whole family was right there in that intensive care unit of that psych hospital, crying, some of them, rubbing me, doing all of that. And that let me know, even though I'm on this side of the curtains, I still got this pack right here rooting for me. They just don't know how. They think rubbing me is soothing me, but that's running me crazy. But I think that my challenge, more so than the mental health itself, has been NAMI. And I think that's partly because of me, because I really haven't realized how to really balance it. I think now with the things that's going on with my mama, because it's so close, I've begun to balance it a little better than I was, because one time I was going 40 to 60 hours a week, but now I have to really focus more time with my mama, and I just use the time that I can find and use. But I think that's what drew the wedge with my family. But even with that, I don't think the wedge got as big as it could, because if I need them to do something, even though they don't want to, they will. So that lets me know that the wedge isn't as big as I sometimes think it is.
Yeah, they're there for you in the end. That makes sense, all of it. You don't have such a successful affiliate and win those awards and stay on top of so many programs without a whole lot of time and dedication. So I think any successful career or successful project is likely sometimes to create a little bit of resentment, because it takes a huge time investment. And lots of happy and supportive comments in the chat box. One from Lisa on Facebook, agreeing with you. Individuals, loved ones living with mental health and substance use challenges have been embraced with less stigma during COVID-19. It seems like everyone has that challenge and experience of isolation and quarantining, and it's become more relatable for everyone in the community. So she liked how you shared that and captured that. And another comment from Lisa: we appreciate all that you do, Ms. Hannah, in your community with NAMI. So thank you for that, Lisa. Wonderful to see you out there. I appreciate it so much. And well, we're getting pretty close to our halfway point. I'll go with this one. Where would you like to see your affiliate in 10 years? Your NAMI of Cumberland, Harnett, and Lee counties. Where do you want that to be in 10 years?
I would like to see my affiliate a vibrant, however you say it, a very important part of our community. And I think even in the mental health arena, I think it's improving, but I think NAMI is not, like we say we want it to be a household word. I think it's not. And I think even the households sometimes that know it, maybe not the households, but the professional places that know it, they really don't value NAMI like they would value a provider or whatever. Because when you're in the meetings with them, you can feel the difference and you can realize that there is a side here and there's a side there. But I like for my community to get to a place where they would really value, know what NAMI is, really embrace its mission and its vision and its population, and allow that population the vehicles that it needs to live the most productive life that it can live. And I would like for the government, the local government, to really be a sponsor, not just hand us out some proclamations on some papers and go through a whole bunch of rigmarole and send a representative make a speech and not show up to the next time there's a speech, but really take mental health seriously. And I have no problem with my community embracing homelessness, but while you're embracing homelessness, take a look and see the large percentage of this population that is homeless is suffering from mental health or substance abuse. Yes, feed them. Yes, clothe them and put them in a shelter. But more than that, offer them a vehicle where they can have a more quality life, where they won't have to be so dependent on the system and become more self-efficient. And I think if you really grab hold of NAMI, don't spend all your money getting somebody to come to Fayetteville from Yale to tell you about the mental health population, but just go up to 109 Bradford Avenue and room 118 and ask some of that population some of these questions that you spend all these thousands of dollars to get somebody to come from Harvard and Yale, some professor, to tell you all of this stuff. And then at the end, you have more homeless people than you had before. And a bigger percentage of those people are mentally ill or substance abuse. I think we need some solutions, not just something temporary so we can feel good that we went down to Inasmuch and fed or clothed somebody, but that we help give somebody a way out of this pressure from that big freight train where they can get to that more productive life.
Wow. Wow, that was very inspiring, and you are so right. And I love the fact that you brought up homelessness. Very wise words from the grassroots. Another link between homelessness and mental illness, of course, there's a huge numbers overlap, but both of those conditions make someone feel like they're not part of society any longer. The stigma of being unhoused, the stigma of having a mental health condition, it just puts you on an island all by yourself. And NAMI is just fabulous at pulling everyone onto the same island and speaking a language of recovery and hope and taking people where they're at so that they don't feel so alone. We see it in the reviews all the time from NAMI classes and NAMI presentations. So yeah, and I see so many wonderful comments in the chat box that just resonated with everybody. All right, so we are gonna pivot now to our video of the week. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your thoughts with us. Gosh, I've just gotten so much out of your words, Hannah. And before we move to our video, I want to give a big shout out to those working behind the scenes. We've got psychiatric nurse Gail Pruitt on the chat box and Facebook, and Gary Kreitz, Executive Director of NAMI North Carolina, on the chat box. He's here every week to support us, so thanks a bunch. And of course, thank you so much to Hannah for spending your evening with us. Video of the week. So I picked an oldie but a goodie. This features Roxy Morrison. She was our mascot with NAMI North Carolina until she passed away earlier this year. But Hannah, I know Roxy was one of your favorite staff members, so I thought we'd do a little tribute to Roxy in your
That's
honor.
good.
So here goes. And that went to the wrong screen. Stop share. Let me get this. All right. It should show us the video now. There we go. All right, and I should give a shout out to Eddie Simmons, our former intern who did that video for us, and so many wonderful videos. So yeah, hearts go out to Roxy wherever you are. We miss you. Okay, now it's time for your questions, Facebook friends and members of our virtual studio audience. You can quickly type your question in the Q&A. If you put it in the chat box, I'll try to get to it, but it could also scroll away and I won't see it. So that's why we use the Q&A box. And we've got a few queued up already. We're starting with Gary. When you look back at your life, what do you want to be remembered for?
I think I want to be remembered for the fact that I am a person that can identify with other people. Even if your lifestyle is not my lifestyle, even if in my personal belief, and everybody has their personal belief, if I believe A, but you're over on B Avenue, that I can still believe A and still embrace you on B Avenue. Not meaning I'm gonna cease what I believe, but I'm not gonna beat you over the head with the Bible. I'm not gonna beat you over the head with my thinking. I'm just gonna be there to love you. And if I really have something that is really the real reality, if I can just love you, then maybe you will see it. But if I gotta beat you up, I know for sure you're not gonna see it, because nobody wants to be beat up day and night.
Spoken like a woman of faith. I have a friend who's very involved with the Christian community, and the quote at the bottom of her email signature is, love is the absence of judgment. It's a quote from Dalai Lama. And that's what came to mind when I listened to you talk just now, Hannah. And an anonymous question, what advice would you give to a young person being hit by that freight train of mental illness?
The advice that I would give, and that's because of the way that I'm wired, would be don't give up, would be seek all of the information and resources you can, because I always think about if people perish, it's because of the lack of knowledge. So anything that happens to you, it had to happen to somebody before. So if you can seek resources, keep in your mind, this too will get better. And know now that just because you've been diagnosed with a mental health challenge or a substance abuse problem, that it's not the end of the world, that you don't have to sit in front of the TV all day, smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, but those goals that you had before, you can make a list of goals and determine what vehicles it takes for you to get there. You may not get there in a Cadillac, you might have to use a Toyota like me, or even a pick 'em up truck, but it's still possible for you to get there. because the word mental illness is not the end of your life. It's just the beginning of a new journey.
All right. Yeah, a lot of hope in that message. Now from Sylvia, has anyone shown interest in taking on the position of leadership so that you can spend time with your family and self-care? More time with your family and self-care. No, ma'am, I'm not volunteering. I'm also retiring. Darn it all. Darn it.
Well, not really, but I'm thinking because I see, like I'm getting more inquiries. I'm sending out more volunteer applications. So I am hopeful that even though they haven't showed up and say I'm it, that God is opening doors and dealing with hearts and minds, and that it's going to be sooner than later. I really think it is. And a door is really open at UNCP that I think could lead somewhere very productive also.
And UNCP, where is that?
It's in Pembroke, the University of North Carolina at Pembroke.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. All right. So, but we'll also write your name down in pencil, Sylvia. How's that sound? All right. Here we go. So we have time for more questions. We go 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the energy and how many questions we get. While there's a lull, I'm going to remind you to join us next week. We are going to have a lively discussion of involuntary commitments. When is it appropriate? When is it not? And we've got some heavy hitters to discuss it. Shireen Caracco, CEO of Promise Resource Network, Corey Dunn he's the Director of Public Policy for Disability Rights, North Carolina, Dr. Michelle Laws of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and Sabab Mohammed. She is a Legislative and Policy Counsel with the Treatment Advocacy Center, or TAC. So we're going to have a big conversation about involuntary commitment. I'm a little scared, but I think it'll be great. Also, please fill out our survey when you leave this Zoom meeting. If you're joining us via Zoom, a survey monkey will magically appear on your screen. Please answer those questions real quick. It helps us so much to show our funders what we do and to help us improve over time. If you like what you saw tonight, if you have a suggestion or didn't like it, please let us know. And I don't see any other questions. Hannah, do you have any closing statements?
Well, I didn't get around to my Martin Luther King statement, and I think it was the last question. I think the last question.
What gives you hope?
What I hope for. And I think that I hope for the day, like when the population with mental illness and substance abuse can really be valued for the unique population that it is. And I think just as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that he had a dream when he was thinking of race relations, I always say, I have a dream too. And I have a dream that people with mental illness and substance abuse will be embraced for who they are, not for what disease they have or don't have. Because mental health is the only disease where you say, Hannah's bipolar. You wouldn't say Hannah is cancer or she's heart disease. So why is she bipolar? Hannah is a lot more than bipolar. If she has bipolar, maybe she has bipolar, just like she could have cancer or stroke or whatever. So my dream is that the discrimination, and that's exactly what it is, we call it stigma, but the discrimination that's associated with this population will be gone, that this population will be valued and allowed to explore to their fullest potential. And what however one's fullest potential, wherever it may be, will be accepted, and they will be made to feel like, not like they're segregated over here, the themses and the us's, and not even like they're integrated and you're all in that little spot. All of you that are like have to congregate together, but like you're a part of the whole group and you can be just what you want to be. And that is my dream. The big dream that I have in my mind is for the facts to become known, this community to be knowledgeable about it, and for the myths to be thrown away. Don't base me or anybody else with a mental health challenge or substance abuse use on, oh, they have a mental illness, oh, they have this. Give us the opportunity to explore. Give us the opportunity to soar to the top just like an eagle, because you would be surprised how many eagles are us that are walking around here with challenges. We're eagles. We fly above a lot of you who think you have no problems. So therefore, my dream is to the day when we will be allowed to just pull off all this discrimination, pull off all these myths, and just embrace who we are, what we can do. It doesn't matter if I can do 5 or if I can do 155,000. If I get to my 5 and that's all I can do, then embrace me and help me to realize I've done all I can do and that's all that's required of me.
Absolutely. And for those of us who've had our wings clipped by stigma, may we grow them right back and just keep flying, because more and more NAMI is creating spaces in the world, and we are able to have our moment, which everyone deserves. So I can't think of a better note to end our show on. Hannah, that was very beautiful. Thank you for spending your time and inspiring us tonight. So many comments in the chat box that are really affirming and praising you. So powerful. Thanks everyone for joining us. I can't wait to see you next week. This was a wonderful show. Thanks again to Hannah and to Gary and Gail. Please be well in the week ahead, and remember, it's okay to talk about how you feel. It's okay to talk about mental health and ask for support. NAMI is here for you. We are here to listen. Thanks everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.